Hey there, everybody. Sorry, I hit the record button and then forgot. I was like, oh, wait, I'm not like 1000% ready. Hey there, everybody. My friends, fellow book nerds, welcome back to my channel. I am the Atomic Pirate Girl, and this is Atomic Reads Books. And I always like to say that to make art, because I'm an artist, you have to consume art, and that includes books. So, um, today's video is a little different. I wouldn't say it's too different because we're still going to do a review, but um we're doing a review of nonfiction. And here's the deal. I'm going to give you a little rundown about this. So, I probably like a couple months ago, no, not like a couple, like last month or two ago, I told myself that I was going to read nonfiction, that I need to introduce doing more nonfiction in my reading because I think that'll, there's nothing wrong with reading fiction. It is great. I love fiction. I write fiction, but I think to get a broader scope of just the world, I think nonfiction is very important. So at first I tried to do like read nonfiction and I was really struggling. So what I ended up doing was like, well, why don't I try it as an audiobook format? Because then I can treat it like a podcast. And I listen to audiobooks, side note, on 1.5 speed. That's just the speed that works for me. Because sometimes I feel like regularly it's too slow. And my brain is always like this. So um the book I'm gonna go over today, I actually anyways, I've got a couple audiobooks, nonfiction audiobooks I need to review. But the one I wanna do today, while I'm thinking about it, is a book that I just sort of, like, randomly came across on, Blue Sky, and I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting," because, like, the commentary behind the book, like, what the poster had said about it, and the book is called Like, Follow, Subscribe: Influencer Kids and the Cost of a Childhood Online. The book is by Fortessa Latafi, Latifi? Latifi? I'm gonna say Latifi. I apologize ahead of time. I know I mispronounced that. I am most certainly trying. So for Tessa, Latifi, there we go. And she also narrated the book. And it's a short audiobook. It's about 7 hours. I got through it in about 2.5 days. And that's just because, I gotta do other things, So I could have honestly probably gotten through that book in like a day and a half. But I think with like such a heavy topic like that, I think it's important to give yourself breaks. As because we definitely live in this sort of like, binge, 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 binge society. I think we forget that sometimes it's okay to like give yourself a breather, to step back from whatever it is, book, movie, TV show, music, art thing, whatever. It's okay to take a step back. But let me read to you what this is about, and then I will give you my review. And my review is going to be it's gonna be kind of both ends, of course, from, like, how the information was delivered, but also sort of, like, my personal views as a parent, as someone who, remembers, like, like, getting the internet, a time before the internet, way back in the oldie days of the '90s. So, um but okay, so the description is, it came out this year in 2026. It says a searing investigation into the child influencer industry and the perils of childhood internet fame. Like, follow, subscribe is essential reading for anyone seeking to understand the costs of internet fame and the ethics of online content. Then it says, what is it like to grow up with a camera in your face 24/7? To have your childhood memories sold as content to millions online? What happens when someone who works in a largely unregulated, multi-billion-dollar industry sells away their childhood and has no financial safety net as an adult? What does it feel like to have your private moments, your medical diagnoses, your first period, your first breakup, your tantrums, potty training, and breastfeeding, weaning broadcast to an audience of millions? Like, follow, subscribe shines a spotlight on a deeply troubling world of child influencer industry. Journalist Fortessa Latifi dives into the lives of children whose parents mind their everyday activities for monetizable content, exposing issues like privacy violations, financial abuse, and the absence of child labor protections. Through expert interviews with psychologists, labor scientists, and even former child influencers and family vloggers, she uncovers the pressures, trauma, and consequences for children thrust into the spotlight. This timely and eye-opening book doesn't just reveal the harm of toxic social media culture, it also provides a roadmap to better regulating influencer families, safeguarding children, and questioning the role of audiences in perpetuating these cycles of exploitation. So, I will go over my like what I gave it in a review kind of near the at the end, but I just want to start off by saying, um, how the information is delivered, it's very personable, right? And I think you can really I feel for myself that I can really latch on to a nonfiction book when you're sort of the person is involved in the story, they're not just someone providing the information, which is kind of like, and I promise I'll do a review on this. I'm currently doing the audiobook version, which is why I have this earbud in my ear. I was I was listening to an audiobook while getting everything set up. I am currently doing Jesus and John Wayne, which looks at evangelical Christianity and John Wayne and how it kind of plays into essentially the downfall of a nation, sort of this like these like far right and conservative and like how it plays into it. Anyways, for me it was like of course I'm like flipping tables, like I'm like, oh. But anyways, back on track. With like, follow, subscribe, I think the voice that, Fortessa uses is very personable, like, as I'm not assuming, I'm guessing we're maybe, like I may be about, like, maybe a little bit older than she is, we're maybe around the same age, same not same demographic, but maybe around the same age. I'm 43, I'm in my 40s, so, I remember when we first got the internet, like, AOL on the disk, we had, like, a shitty laptop that the entire family, shared, and then when I got into college, I bought a PC, like, my first time, I bought a PC, and then that sort of became it was my PC, but, like, the family used it, which I was whatever. But, so to see the evolution of the internet, like, for me, it's wild, and then also as a mom, I could definitely relate to her. And she does go into things being pretty sympathetic. And I think that's important because she understands like being a mom. And this is kind of where it comes into a little bit like like me being personally like kind of growing personally attached is like being a mom is specifically in the US can be very isolating. I remember when I had my daughter, and this is TMI, I was having like my um like, I was by myself, my husband was working, couldn't afford to he had to work, but I was on leave, and just, like, my breasts were hurting, I guess I had, like, a clogged, like, whatever, like, no milk was coming out, my daughter wasn't feeding, she was screaming, I called, like, a nurse's line, and I was fucking berated by the nurse, like, "How can you let this baby go hungry?" I was like, "I don't know what to do, like, I'm just calling looking for help, and I, like, fucking weeped on the phone, 0 sympathy, and then, like, I called my dad, and I was, like, just sobbing, like, "I don't know what to do, and I'm overwhelmed," and, like, my parents came over, like, thankfully, I had that support system, but it still felt, like, really alone, and she expressed that, like, when she's because she's, like, pregnant, she even says at the end of the book, like, when she started this book and, like, kinda getting it ready. She was like 7 months pregnant, and then by the end of the book, I think she said she was like 7 or 8 months postpartum. So you go through this while she's doing all this research, contacting these family influencers, like, you see her questioning my cat's back there in the curtain, um, questioning, like, "Is it worth it?" Like, you see her being like, "Well, I'm guilty of looking up like, whenever I feel alone, like, I go online and, there's a mom maybe going through the same thing I am, and I feel less alone." But I think what she points out is the difference is that the money and the greed, uh I wouldn't say greed. Some of it most certainly is greed, but I think some of it is like, that is making the money. It's like life-changing money that these families are making. And, they say, "Oh, is it worth it?" Like, "Well, yeah, we took our kids' faces offline for a while, but then we started losing sponsorships. Well, then we like put them back online and they started making money again." Um, I think a lot of and what they look at here definitely with like the dangers, and I don't see how you can't mention like this, like, and it is mentioned in the book. And it is discussed about the Ruby Frankie situation, with the 8 passengers and Jody Hildebrand, right? Like that story is like horrifying. And as a mother myself, like I could never picture hurting my children like that, right? Like, for me, that's like, what the fuck? Um, now when I was a young mother, like, when my kids were little, of course, like, I shared, like, little baby pictures of them online and, and of course, like, my oldest is in her teens, and, when they were babies. But then it just sort of like I just sort of like pulled back from that. A lot of that was just like when my daughter was able to vocalize, being like, "Hey, I really am like, do not share my photos online." And I was like, "You know what? Totally fair." Like, and even probably before then, because I think my daughter started asking me that when she was about like 10 or 11. Like even before that, I really stopped posting pictures. I would do like first day of school pictures, and that was it. Every once in a while, like, my son wants to be in a photo with me and he, like, post it, and then, like, I'll post it, but I really don't do that because we live in this society where and I hate this, like, it's very parasocial where we wanna like, the internet has made us feel more connected, but it also has made, like, the audiences feel more entitled, and that's definitely what she drives at in the book. I know started talking about, like, so the Ruby Frankie, and then we kinda shifted to this, but it kind of all goes together, and I think also with platforms like Instagram and TikTok, you know, she uses the story, there's, like, 3 teen moms, 3 teenage moms who are like, "Hey, like, this is I'm able to put food on the table, pay my rent, get my kids diapers," like, provide for them in a way that working at, like, a movie theater or a fast food could never provide, especially now in this economy, you know, I have not with me, but with family members who were teenage moms and, to I think if they were teenage moms during this time, like, would they have gone the lengths to survive? Because sometimes it is about survivability, and that is the unfortunate state of the world we live in, is that some people feel like they have to essentially put their kids online or, do this whole thing to be able to make money, Um, and but again, it's this balancing of like having sympathy for people who are struggling and are now like, hey, we're like gonna like jump the ship. We're gonna like have this life-changing money experience. And things like that, but also, like, recognizing that, like, it's wrong. I don't remember the influencer's name, but I do remember seeing it all over the place where I think her name is, like, Cheyenne. Tell me if you know, but where, like, she clearly didn't watch her videos back or edit it. She just, like, uploaded it where I guess they took their family dog to the vet, and she's in the car with her son, and she's, like, pulling her son closer, and it's like, "Look sadder." And he's like, "I am sad, mom." He's like, "No, like this," like coaching coaching him to, like, to be a certain way, and it's like, that's such an evidence of, like, that is definitely, in my personal opinion, that's, like, that's emotional abuse, where you're trying to, dictate a reaction and film it and put it up on the internet, and I think doing, like, a slice of life, I don't think I necessarily have a problem with. I don't put, like, even though, like, my kids are old enough to understand, um, informed consent, I never, like, I've been doing sort of, like, slice of life videos in my, on my main channel, and my son does pop up, unfortunately, in one of my time-lapse videos, but his head's cut off, and I tell him, like, "Hey, I'm recording," and he's like, "Whatever, that's fine," but you don't see his face because both our heads are cut off due to the angle. So, um, things like that, right? Like, I think it's and these kids aren't keeping any of their money, right? You're essentially working your child so that way you have the money. And it shouldn't be that way. Like your child should not be supporting you. You should be supporting your child. And and again, it comes down to that slippery slope. Like, do we post online? Do we make content out of this? And like not everything is content. There are definitely like what is sacred anymore, I suppose. And that's like I don't watch family vlogging content. That's just like I'm not interested in that. Um my life keeps me busy as a mom. I don't need to go to some like influencer mom who's trying to sell me something to look something up to look for guidance. I don't know. There's some really disturbing moments about where they film their son, where one influencer family is filming their son clearly having some sort of like asthma reaction and just being like, "What should we do? Should we go to the hospital?" And just, like, posting that to Instagram, fucking horrified. So, but at the end of the book, and I don't think this is a spoiler, like, definitely comes to the determination of, like, listen, is there a responsible way to do this? Like, what's it gonna look like online? But she's like, if I was given the opportunity, if someone said you can make millions of dollars by making content with your child, what would she do? And she said, absolutely not. And I definitely feel the same way. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I think that's why now there is this especially because of the 8 passenger Ruby Frankie Jody Hildebrandt case, which if you don't know, go check that out. It's very sad, it's very horrifying. And I blame the dad as well. I think the dad's a piece of shit in it, regardless of him trying to like do this. Anyways, opinions. Um, but yeah, I think this is a book that every if you are a parent, um, no matter how old you are, a grandparent, I think this is a book. It is easily accessible. Like I said, it's accessible in the sense that it's very easy to listen to, or read. It weaves storytelling in with what the thesis is, and that is really the dangers of family vlogging and living a childhood online, being an influencer kid. So, yeah, long just listen to me go and go and go. So, anyways, if you have read this book, let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure you are doing the things that YouTube does. I almost said follow, but that's like That's definitely like a Twitch thing or like other places. I don't know why you subscribe. Like for me, when you subscribe somewhere, you're paying something. But anyways, make sure you are subscribing to this channel as well as my main channel and all my other social media things. I am the Atomic Pirate Girl pretty much everywhere. But yeah, if you have any nonfiction book recommendations, let me know. But this is where I will say, see you later, alligator, and I will see you on the next one. Okay, let me get over here. This time recording. Okay, bye.